Morning. Have you lit your candle, Tony?
Yeah, I've lit. It's got 2 wicks. I've lit it. I've lit for
We've all
Jedward.
start. Jedward aren't dead.
Well, they should probably. It's a bit awkward then, isn't it? I think they
I
have to
was
die.
I was lighting my candle for Dave, who's also alive. You love to see
Right.
it.
I think that's okay.
You said you were lighting it for Corona, and then I pointed out the lead singer of Corona, who sung "Rhythm of the Night," was still alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know any people who are dead. I guess.
Do you know anyone who's half dead?
Um.
Half dead
After three.
3. Okay.
That is a terrible pun, and it wasn't even at the right time.
It was right timing because I clicked it.
Okay, my mango peach salsa candle is lit.
Okay, Dave. We're in the middle of recording Tangerine. I thought we
Tangerine.
Tangerine!
get the candle lighting in. There were 3 candles lit for this Christmas evening.
4 wicks, 3 candles,
Ready.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
What's better
two
what's
games,
better to celebrate
one
Christmas
tangerine.
than some candles and a tangerine?
Well, mine's a Christmas candle, so
Mine it's from a Christmas candle advent calendar
yeah. But
from.
does it smell of Christmas?
Yeah, it has like mulled wine and shit like that.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
Christmas smells.
Mine's like mulled cinnamon and vanilla.
Dave's is moldy shoes. He's got a.
Moldy shoes.
That's just a quick pun. Can we talk? Can we keep talking about candles so we don't have to talk about Green Hell?
What's wrong?
Yeah.
Wait, what's wrong with Green Hell? Well, you got beef.
Okay, I've got
He's
beef.
got beef.
I got beef. For
Explain
Green
the
So this is
beef.
a game that you and Dave played, right?
Yeah.
Hell. Okay, so context. Me and Dave, we played a game called The Forest, and I've talked about The Forest on the podcast several times, and I think it's a fucking amazing game. One of my favorite survival crafting multiplayer games. And we looked at. I didn't look too much into Green Hell. All I saw was it looked similar to The Forest, but it was in the jungle. And it also was only single player for a really long time. And then multiplayer was added, and I said, next time this goes on sale, we should pick this up and play it because multiplayer's been added. It could be fun to play. So we jumped on it with another friend. I think
It was Matt originally.
wrestling Matt. Yeah, I have to remember what he's called on the
World War Two,
podcast.
Matt. I thought he was World War Two, Matt.
Last time,
No, he's Warhammer Matt.
Warhammer Matt. Now, yeah, I guess. Vietnam Dave's with us again. I didn't even introduce you.
Hey, I'm Vietnam Dave.
It's because I already introduced you in the previous video, but these videos will be weeks apart probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Also, the candles.
the candles
really...
are lit. The candles are lit.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
And this is probably going to be paired up with something. And so if I disappear for the second half of the video, that's probably why.
They already know. They already know.
They already know. So
What was I
yeah,
saying?
we're gonna make
Who are you playing it with?
constant comparisons to the Forest with this game, and I just wanted to put out a spoiler warning because I think that people should play this before we talk about it.
I disagree with Dave. I don't think anyone should play this. But go on. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
So the Kenyon Lynch episode.
There's going to be some divisive opinions. I love The Forest, and the reason I love The Forest is because it may have started as a serious survival game, but I feel like The Forest is great because while they were developing it, they asked themselves a very important question. That question was, is this realistic?
What the fuck? Oh.
No, the question was,
Sorry.
Is this realistic and is it fun? And I feel like there's stuff you do in The Forest, like sliding down hills on turtle shells and the ability to build like giant log sleds and just get chainsaws and just cut down the entire forest. It may not
blow
be
them up with dynamite.
Yeah, it may not be that realistic, but it's fun. And I feel like with Green Hell, they let like the realism get in the way of fun a lot of the time is how I feel.
I think the point was to go but more realism and not fun. I don't think that there was a choice really that they wanted to make a realistic sort of forest game, and I think they succeeded very well.
Are you talking about the forest right now?
No, I'm talking about Green Hell.
Yeah.
That it is, yeah, it's basically a clone of the forest, but they cranked
In the
up the
jungle.
difficulty and the realism and didn't care so much about wacky fun.
I think the easiest way I can explain this to you is if you know Far Cry, you'll know Far Cry 2 is very different to like Far Cry 3, where I like Far Cry 3 because it has lots of wacky stuff in it and it's a lot more fun, but
It's easier than 2.
I hate 2 because it has the same problem where it puts realism in the way that you're constantly taking malaria pills and popping bullets out of your arm and stuff like that. And whereas I think like ultimately when it comes down to it, you want to be having fun when playing a game, and I don't think
Yeah,
realism should get in the way of that.
I agree with you. I think, Joe. But like, I feel like you can be authentic and have fun, and you'll get a pretty similar idea if you just went like pure realism.
Hmm. I think there's a difference
'Cause-
between like realism and realistic, or like
yeah, that's true.
I don't know,
But
but
I feel like even when you try and make something like perfectly realistic, that there's always gonna be some sort of trade off like in a gamey way anyway. So I feel like just make it fun at the same time.
But the decision I was making was I hated Far Cry 2, but Dave loves Far Cry 2. And
Yeah.
that's like just to show
Well,
you the kind
ask
of the
you,
difference of opinion that we
yeah.
have on
Do you have an
gameplay.
example of like what is like? Is there like a mechanic in Green Hell that you like kind of
Yeah.
shows this best? Like, is what mechanic like really shows this off?
The difficulty.
Too no, like, it's like too realistic.
Oh,
Specifically, okay, the enemies in the forest are really well designed. And also the AI of the forest is really well designed as well. The forest is almost like another character in the game, where in the forest, cutting down trees and having the natives see you kill people will have a big impact on how many of them spawn and come and attack you and how they interact with you. Whereas in Green Hell, the tribals aren't they're barely in the game. Your real enemy is stepping outside and walking on a spider, and they're immediately like, "Well, I'm dead." It just reminds.
Wait, what does a spider do? Is it
It
just like a?
bites you, and then you're like, "Well, I've got a fever, and then I've got an infection, and now I'm gonna die."
Oh, okay, right.
Oh, I touched a frog by accident. I now been poisoned. I'm going to die. It's like you walk out. The enemy is walking outside in Green Hell, and that's 90% of the game is walking outside. So
Does,
because like you agree with me, Dave, like I feel like 90% of the game you don't interact with anything like the tribals or anything. Like you're mostly on your own for like almost all the game. Do you think that's fair?
yeah, I would say that the enemy, whereas your enemy in the forest
Is the forest.
is, well, the forest, but more so the cannibals that inhabit it, the mutants.
Mm.
Whereas your enemy is more the jungle itself. Like there are tribals, and there's similar sort of mechanics, but not as in depth as forest. Like you won't get attacked by like full raiding parties until you've a scout has been to your base. So you'll always have one tribal run across you or your encampment, and that is what starts you being attacked. But yeah, there's like so instead of cannibals, it's mostly the fauna that are the danger. Like you're not going to interact with tribals too much, but you are going to get wild animals coming up to you and just wrecking your shit.
Mm.
but
Yeah.
so what's the mechanics of like dealing with these things in Green Hell then?
What things specifically?
Like the threats that the jungle like throws at you. Like how do you like?
you need to make bandages out of herbs. You need
Yeah,
to
Okay, so like
sleep.
you
kind of
need
like
to make
pushes you to like keep
specific.
crafting stuff
Yeah, it's a very
and
difficult
gathering
game
stuff.
until you know what you're doing. When you know exactly what
Right.
you're doing, all difficulty really disappears.
Well, it sounds like in the forest, that's not like the main gameplay. Like there's like other stuff like you have to like
I
try and
think
do.
like Green Hell's progression. There's not a lot of progression.
No, there doesn't have to be any progression.
Exactly.
You could finish the game in one sitting, but you could do this exactly the same in the
But I
forest.
feel like the forest with the cave system, like there's definitely like a lot more like set progression through that sort of thing, I would say.
Sort of like if you think of caves as
Yeah.
locations in the jungle, they're exactly the same. Like they're difficult because they're so dark in the forest and they're so like windy and hard to understand even with the map as you've learned with first-hand experience. But if you know what you're doing, you can just breeze right through them. The same as this. If you know what you're doing, you can go to all the locations you need to. So the difficulty, most of it is just from the same as the forest. It's just from learning what you want to do. But this has
I
like
think the
more
problem
survival aspects.
the problem is that the difficulty is not like, oh, I'm not better at fighting or I'm not better at crafting. It's like, oh, I walked into something and now I'm going to. It's like it feels tedious. It doesn't feel
Is it like
fun.
yeah, like the gameplay? You saying like the gameplay loop is like is tedious. Like what you have to
Yeah,
do to solve,
I
or maybe not even solve, but like progress.
a majority of the time I wanted to log off and just log back in when we were actually doing something because walking around and surviving was so boring and taxing that I just didn't want to play the day-to-day grindy stuff. I found it so uninteresting in Green Hell that it just wasn't fun. Whereas like there is so much stuff to do in the forest where you can just build these elaborate structures. You can build like log zip lines. Like it's like the day to day like mundane task in the forest. The core gameplay loop is fun, whereas Green Hell it's just tiresome and it's just not interesting. I don't know, like. But if you're looking for like like doing these things in real life wouldn't be fun. They would be like tiresome and boring. But that's
Well,
not what
I'd
I
argue it
want.
might be more fun because you're actually having to like physically do it, and like I feel like that would be more mentally inspiring, I guess,
Hmm.
in a way. Like it's like a challenge you actually have to physically do.
Hmm.
I,
Although I wouldn't want to have to deal with getting infected with
yeah,
poison.
I don't think you feel the same when you've just been touched by the poison dart frog,
Yeah, that's fair.
and
That's
then you
fair.
die like Joe said. But if you wanted the forest, but with more harder core
Realism.
survival
No,
aspects,
because I feel
not just
like
necessarily realism.
no, because I feel like that's a disservice to the forest. Like it's like the forest, but um, it's more realistic. Like I feel like every step that this does that's similar to the forest does better. Like you're going back in terms of like how
I
good.
would have to disagree on that. Like, for example, the macronutrients in the forest, you could just.
But that's a more realistic survival thing that is just not interesting.
I found it interesting having to try and keep it up.
The
Like,
gameplay loop, the combat, the harvesting, much more interesting in the forest compared to Green Hell.
I think we might have to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sounds like Far Cry 2 versus Far Cry 3 differences, to be honest. But I think from what I can glean from like little bits I've seen of the forest, like I think I lean far more towards Joe's opinion than yours though.
But
Yeah,
it's
well,
like,
it just depends what sort of game. If you wanted
but the
a
thing is, like,
Like
survival game
what
that's
loop do you
more
want?
heavily focused on survival,
but the thing is, like, again, it's like like it's not just stepping outside. You get bit by bug. It's like you have to sleep like 5 times a day, and like it just feels completely imbalanced and not fun. I don't know, like
You shouldn't have to. If you're doing everything right, you don't need to. And speaking of sleeping, sleeping in this is way better than the forest. In the forest, if you go to the sleep at the wrong time, then you are locked out of going back to sleep. Whereas this, you can choose to go back to sleep whenever
but
you like.
that would be more realistic though in the
Yeah,
forest.
that would be more realistic. But that is a really annoying part of the forest that I didn't like about it, and it's comparable to some of the aspects in this that you didn't like.
Hmm.
Because a lot of the time I was up at the wrong hours, and it would be an effort to actually get myself to be on the right time to sleep with accomplishing all the stuff I needed to do.
Hmm. So I feel like so with the Green Hell, um, I if I would never play this game single player. Um, I know you seem to particularly like the story. I didn't think it was anything particularly interesting. Um, whereas I think I much preferred the story in the forest. It was a lot more fleshed out. It's a lot less left up to interpretation as Green Hell is.
That's a bit contradictory if you're saying it's fleshed out and left up to interpretation.
No,
The
no,
story in the forest is really minimal. There is not a lot. Whereas
exactly.
this is a proper story. In the forest, it's almost non-existent.
No, but the story is more like it's not like you have to try and figure out what the story is. You know what the story is in the forest. It's more straightforward. You're
Um,
going to look for your son. Bam.
yeah,
That's
well, the
like
first part, yeah,
yeah.
but then you are having to work out why your son has been taken and
Mm.
all that stuff along the way. But both of them, well, I'd say the forest has more. Is it emergent storytelling? What's the word for it? Where it's not all on pieces of paper like we're actually reading now. You actually go out and discover these things and put it together yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you're pretty much being told like what has happened and what you're doing. Which I'd give like I love the forest. I love both these games, but I just think they're very different, and this one is more difficult. It's a harder challenge than the forest.
But I do think they are different games at the same time in a lot of aspects, not
Yes.
just in difficulty.
Yeah.
And I think I much prefer the design philosophy of the forest compared to the design philosophy of Green Hill.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want all the fun aspects, then it's really not the game for you. But if you want a sort of more serious survival,
Hmm. Because I mean, another example. I like playing like military, like semi-realistic military. Like I like playing Battlefield, but I
Yeah, really
hate play.
like realistic looking,
Yeah, but like
like authentically named.
I hate playing a game like Rising Storm Vietnam, whereas Dave loves that sort of game where it's like
Yeah,
realism first sort of thing above, you know.
I think
You
yeah,
12 Biscuits says something like authenticity versus realism. It's like
mm,
kind of like Battlefield is like being authentic, but
well, it's
it's not very realistic in
you
terms
love
of
to
like
see a
everything
penis scored.
combining.
You love to see it.
you do.
That's that's one thing going for it.
I don't know. So anything else you want to say about this before we wrap this up, Dave? Anything else you want to say about Green Hell?
I could go on for days talking about it, but
I mean,
I just want to recommend it. Like
um,
if you like the survival aspects in survival games, then definitely try it out.
like, cause I would say like my favorite survival crafting games are usually light on the heavy realism elements. Like some of my favorite survival games are like stuff like Minecraft or Raft or
They're like
Subnautica.
low
Hmm.
tedium once you start just get going. Yeah,
I like the elements of survival crafting I like are the progression paths, the base
yeah.
building. Um,
Finding and doing stuff new and
yeah,
like discovery. Yeah,
that's the sort of stuff I find more interesting. But so I would say if you're looking for just if you're just like, oh, I want to play another survival crafting game, do your research before playing this one, because it's not just another one where you could chuck it on with a couple of mates and be like, oh, we'll just get into it. There's a steep
No,
learning curve,
definitely not. Yeah, it's
and
easy once you know what you're doing, but to actually work out what you're doing without looking up guides and
because
asking other people's opinions, it's
when we
insanely
first
difficult.
played this, we were trying to figure it out without looking anything up. At least I was, and that was impossible.
Yeah, I had already played it by that point with another friend, and we had spent ages dying over and over again to actually work out what we were trying to be doing.
Mm. What were you saying about the story of this though? It was sort of like the film I Am Legend before we
Oh
started.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So we were just having. I was trying to explain because I thought we might go more story heavy on it. I wanted to say about spoilers, and I was just trying to explain it for Tony, and he
Yeah,
made the
you've
comparison
given
between
us
Iron Legend.
you're given the spoiler warning, so I guess we can talk about the story of Green Hell
yeah,
before we-
Yeah.
spoilers. It's exactly like I Am Legend.
So the idea is in Brazil. I'll explain it from how I understand it, Dave, and then you fill in my gaps
Yeah.
if I've misunderstood it. There was a miracle. There was a miracle flower found in Brazil that was able to cure things like cancer.
It's a
And
fungus
yeah,
or mushroom, but yeah.
and basically everyone starts taking it to cure everything, but then it turns into a disease which starts killing everyone. And basically, because the main character is trying to do it to save his wife or girlfriend, I don't know if they're married, um,
That's his wife.
wife Mia, um, who is like the main MacGuffin of the game, where you're trying to find her basically. And basically, what happens is the world goes into some sort of pandemic. I don't know if that's quite realistic. That was a good realism aspect of it.
Yeah, realism.
Where they start building walls around these like tribal areas because it's free from the how does they start building walls around the tribal areas, right? Because it's isolated from like people in the infections, right? Is that how it works?
I think we'll understand that when we play Spirit of Amazonia.
But
But after, so we go to the tribe and make
Mm.
contact with them, and they share the secret of this mushroom
yeah,
that cures it.
but
But that leaves like the commercial world to encroach on the jungle and start
yeah,
destroying it,
because
basically.
I'm showing gameplay of Half Dead 3. I just realized. Because that was a theme I liked about the story. I was like, the idea is because you learn about the story through you basically take ayahuasca and go on fucking spirit like drug fueled spirit quests, and that's how you chase like naked boys through the forest. That's how Jesse described it, and you basically you learn about it, and throughout these quests you see like um, the tribals attack you, and it's like that. I like the idea of like you finding this miracle cure caused them to be grievance, and their anger is metaphored through them like shooting you with arrows and stuff like that. I thought that stuff was interesting in the story.
I'm not sure whether it's explained or not, but there's room for interpretation whether it's the same actual tribe that is
Hmm.
attacking you as the ones you got the cure from, because in some of the cutscenes you find all the tribals dead.
Right.
Like you've killed off that tribe, and it could be another one, or they've changed to a much more hostile
Hmm.
sort of way of life, and this is how they're surviving. Um, so after that causes the virus or infection or whatever, you go back out. You leave your dying wife in the hospital to try and find a cure, basically. So that is why you're out here.
Hmm.
Like it's not explained to you at the start of the game. You learn all this while playing it. But it turns out that you've been out here for a very, very long time and just going in a circle, basically, repeating the same steps,
Hmm.
like repressing everything you've learned until you've actually managed to find the cure. And that is the story.
That's why information is given to you through ayahuasca trips because you already know the information,
Yeah.
right? But you're sort of stuck in an endless loop, like Ouroboros sort of thing, where
Yeah, until you can find the cure and break the loop.
which is, it's a bit. Some people like that. Some people find that sort of stuff annoying. I think it's all right. I think the story's Green Hill's okay. I don't think it's anything special, but Dave seems to like it.
Just watch Ryan Legend. I
It's
think
not
you get
for
the same
everybody.
gist.
Yeah,
And
no,
that
just
is
watch
okay.
Omega Man.
It's not for everybody, and that is okay. Well, those are words to live by now.
That's review for every game, though.
It's
All right,
the most
next up, Far Cry 2.
It's the
We're
most.
doing it.
It's the most objective review I've ever read in my life.
Yeah.
This is Half Dead 3.
Coming soon on Tangerine.
There it is. So if you don't know the Half Dead, speaking of films, I've never seen it, but I've been told Half Dead is basically the film The Cube.
Oh right.
I think The Cube is like it's basically a bunch of death rooms. Let me look it up because it looks like The Cube from what I've gathered.
You're in cube rooms.
Okay, I think the idea is you're progressing through death rooms and you like throw shoes in to see if there's traps inside them. Basically, it's basically the film The Cube, but it's sort of like a minesweepery layout where every single room has a trap in it, or some are more dangerous than others. Some of them are lethal traps and that sort of stuff, and you have like 2 shoes in order to test out a room before you go into them, and you're trying to progress through all the levels in order to get to the exit and get to the end and escape. This is the third game in the it's the third in the Half Dead genre. It's a Strand type game.
It's a Strand type game, is it? Okay.
The thing with the Half Dead games is they're all sort of the same game, but the thing is
slightly improved.
Well, they're slightly changed, I would say. Like, there's definitely like it looks the same. It sort of plays the same.
Because I don't think I could tell the difference between any of the games by like.
Because the thing with them is they're like super cheap. They're like a couple of quid, like £2 or £3, and because that's why I got like if this game would cost more, I would like why would I get the same game again? Like I don't need this.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the reason I got this was because me and my friends we played quite a bit of Half Dead 2, I think. Let me check how many hours we have. Like we do enjoy just running around, going through rooms.
It's an easy game to just put on and get people to play.
I got about.
It's either that or golf, right?
It's that or a golf game.
I've got about 10 hours in Half Dead 2. And I like Half Dead 2, but some of the things I can have sound on for this one. I just realised. Some of the things I didn't like about Half Dead 2 was we would play on like higher difficulties, but unless we did stuff like turning the minimap off, which made it a lot more disorientating and hard to get around, the best strategy in Half Dead 2 was just move as slowly as possible, save your shoes, stack bandages, and it turned the gameplay into like very slow, methodical sort of gameplay, which some people like and is a lot more chill.
Yeah, but it eliminated all of the challenge, really.
Yeah. So one of the things I really like about what Half Dead 3 did was they added basically a new enemy to the game called bosses, where, as you can see here, great timing, there are now enemies that will chase you through rooms. So you're going to have to go into a room very quickly. And you can see there, I was throwing a shoe into a room as this guy's chasing me. So I'm now having to run to another room without shoeing it first because I don't have the time to go back and get my shoe because I'm being chased by an elephant. The second change you can see perfectly here is that you can't stack bandages. You need to eat food as you find food, and that's what heals you. And third change, death rooms now have 2 blue buttons on them, so you can trade shoes in order to destroy a death room if someone gets trapped into it. But it's not an immediate get out of free jail card. you have to do it quick enough that it opens the doors, and then also the platform has it lowered low enough that they can still jump out of it as well. And I really like these changes. I think that's a good idea. Oh, you can also throw shoes at traps now to destroy certain traps. But again, you're trading a shoe to destroy a trap sort of thing. So it's like a balance sort of thing. In order to, like, if you do get, like, slowing down is still sort of rewarded as well if you can find the opportunity to slow down, because if you get below 50 health, your health will then regen up to 50, but it'll never go over 50. And also there's an interesting mechanic where if you eat more food than you need, you'll have like overheal, similar to games like TF2 or like Doom, I think, had overheal back in the day, where you can take it, but slowly over time the health will like chip off. So it's like temporary health sort of thing, which I always found sort of interesting.
Yeah, it's more interesting than just healing. It's more interesting than. Well, you're saying that it was bandages in the other two games. You say.
What? Sorry, what did you say?
In the other two games, like it wasn't the feed
Bandages,
system.
and basically you would hoard bandages, and he's like, right, you're damaged.
Yeah, it's just like an item you would hold.
I've got 7 bandages. I can heal you up.
Right.
Yeah, I think the major criticism of this game is there's slight improvements over the previous game, but it could have just been an update to Half Dead 2, which I agree with.
But I guess for it being so cheap, that's kind of the rationale.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, if they did an update to the previous game, it would probably make them no money, unless they increase the price of Half Dead 2. And at that point, if you're increasing the price of like a £2 to £3 game, you might as well release another game, because sequels always sell better than updates or DLC.
Well, especially if people bought the game at the lower price.
Yeah.
So I kind of get that, but I don't know. Like, it seems to me like just. I guess like you played it at the time, but like to me, it's like I should just wait for this one, really.
Yeah, but I probably wouldn't have played this unless I'd played the Half Dead 2. Like, I just because the Half Dead 1 and 2 were like so cheap in a bundle, I was like, oh, I'll try those. Play them with some friends.
What happens if you get like you're like down multiple floors to get to the final exit, right? Yeah. How does it get harder? Is that just more bad rooms as you get lower down?
So basically, you choose your settings before you start the game.
But the main difficulty does come from the settings.
Okay. Is that completely like how you define it then?
So this is like
yes. Joe was saying before, we were having to handicap ourselves a lot to get the difficulty we wanted out of the previous game by like taking the mini map off and making them quite large.
With this game, we've only been able to complete it like playing on like quite low difficulties.
Oh right, okay. So there's like sort of room for to.
Also, it depends, because there's like pyramid patterns you could do where, you can make it so the first level is very few rooms, like 6 rooms, and then as you go further down, more and more rooms spawn outwards, like a pyramid pattern sort of thing, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. It seems like a. Okay, I guess my other question is like how many different types of traps and rooms are there? Like, do you eventually just know them?
Yeah, I think they just did like I think it came out like this year, like October or something like that, and they just did like a major so it came out August, and they just did a major update like a couple of days ago when this was recorded. So I think it was December 10th or something, where they added like a bunch more new rooms and stuff like that.
Okay, fair enough.
All the traps can come in different varied combinations.
Well, I just seem like from the logins just seem very, very similar still.
The
solution still seems to be the same.
But I think it's like when you have traps that are very like similar, I think it is better when you add a speed element to them, because then you have less time to react to them and go, oh, I know this, I know what to do, let's do this.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the one big new room was they added the Squid Game glass room jumping room, which has been very controversial because people are complaining that it's way harder than most of the rooms because
Oh, okay.
most rooms you throw a shoe in and you've got to dodge like a laser and some flamethrowers, right?
Yeah.
But the glass jumping room from Squid Game, you have to. The only way to get through it is by jumping one of the glass panes. And if you don't know about the glass jumping game in Squid Game, one of the glass
Spoiler
panes.
for Squid Game, by the way.
Spoilers for the Korean television show.
Well,
on
let's just pretend it
Netflix.
was crab games all along then, no spoilers.
If you guys have played the game Crab Game, you'll know all about the game where you have to jump on glass panes, and one of them is reinforced so you can withstand weight, and one of them's not. We were complaining like you can't go around it. You have to use the glass panes, and the glass panes you can throw shoes at, but if you jump on the wrong one, it will kill you. And there's about 2 or 3 glass panes to get through the room, so. Whereas a normal room would take you, one shoe to just check if it's safe. The glass pane room is taking like 6 shoes in order to get through it.
Oh,
Safely,
right,
it's
yeah.
like it's way harder than the other rooms. Like it's just a massive random difficulty spike if you get the lava room or not, which you can't control because it's just all random spawns, right? We're back to the hell.
All right, so Green Hell.
Yeah.
I really like. Yeah, go on.
Another mechanic I like is in the previous game you could res your friends by going up into the next level, which would res them on the next level. But
It would res one of them
another
in a random order.
So what you would do again, playing slow is rewarded in Half Dead 2, you would just wait and you wouldn't go up until all of your teammates had got to the end, so you could just sit there, and if one of them happened to die, you could then res them as they were, as you were about to go up. In this one, you res people when you find the exit room, so you can't like tactically hold on to your res. Like if you find the exit room, you can't just like play slowly and sort of cheat a res out.
There were actual like dedicated res rooms that weren't the next level in the last one, weren't there?
Yeah, I think so.
Do we know if they continued that on from this? Because I haven't even seen the glass pane one. We played 3 games and we didn't complete any of them.
Well, we
played with you.
when we played, Dave. We played pre-update. The glass panes were added after the update.
Oh, okay.
I have played on the glass pane levels that they added.
I don't mind that, having like one extremely difficult room that you might all want to actually get together to complete. Yeah.
Is that the only really difficult room though?
There's definitely like more difficult rooms than others.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say
you can get ones that have like lots. Like towards the end, they can be filled with an insane amount of traps, and that can make it difficult. But there's nothing, as far as I know, there's nothing else that's guaranteed to eat through your shoes or pretty much kill you if you haven't got it. Because like when you're shoeless, you have to it becomes a whole different game. Like every room you could go in will be a death room.
Yeah, and that's when you want to use like the minesweeper thing, where it's like, okay, well I know this room is likely to be safe because of the number of traps around it and stuff like that.
Okay.
Or you just YOLO it. You just keep running into rooms.
Yeah.
Just pray.
Yeah, is the strat not just to just try and be tactical but quick and
Yeah. Which I like. I like that design going forward, where it's more quicker, more tactical, but with an element of being quick and stuff.
Like Hotline Miami-ish.
Yeah, Half Dead 3. Half Dead 3 is the Hotline Miami 3 that we never got.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But yeah, I
definitely
definitely
think though thematically though it would make sense for like a minotaur rather than an elephant, but he's a cool enemy. And it's nice to actually be funneled through into places you wouldn't normally go in. Normally you have the choice.
Could have this and should have this have been an update for Half Dead 2? Definitely. Is it still fun to play with friends? And is it really cheap? Yes. So that's my thoughts on Half Dead 3. It's sort of more of the same, but slightly different.
Yeah.
way to play, and it's still.
I don't mind that it's a completely new game because it's not a lot of money, and I doubt there's very many people who are actually working on this. It's like
Oh, one
who
last
would
thing I wanted to
be-
mention was that customization in Half Dead 2, you would always get a loot box after you played a level, whereas it seems like in this game, there's people reported playing for 8 hours and they've got like 1 or 2 loot boxes, sort of thing. Like, they've really cut down on like cosmetic spawns to the point where you'd have to like grind the game, and then the cosmetics
Oh, that
are
sucks.
you pick in Half Dead. You built your own character. You could put anything on any character as long as it's for the right like gender, I think. But with this
Okay,
game, you
interesting.
have to pick a specific character, and then you get unlocks for that character, and then those unlocks are just play 8 hours, you get one unlock for one character that you maybe didn't want, which is kind of annoying.
Is that just like a gameplay decision because there's no monetary way of improving the odds, is there?
I don't know if you can. I don't know if this has like
No, I
Steam
think they
Marketplace.
had the marketplace on the last one.
I don't know they
Oh,
have it for
okay.
this one, so it doesn't really make sense.
No, I'm assuming that there's not many cosmetics in the game.
Yeah, maybe
Oh,
they
you
just
can
didn't make
that's-
slowing it down.
Yeah, I think that will be the reason for such
But
a
if
low
it's
loot drop.
just why can't they just reuse it from the previous game?
That's a whole new game.
Yeah, it's a new game. Like the graphics.
Yeah,
are,
but can you just
improved.
import it?
One thing I wanted to mention was performance was really bad on this one until they did a hotfix, and now performance is okay. So,
Okay.
like, it's not the best optimized game. Definitely.
Is that before? Is that when I played it? Because I didn't have any performance issues regarding this.
It depends. Your definition of performance, Dave.
I had no stutter and that.
Right, but were you trying to push 165 frames at 1440p?
No, probably
Okay.
not.
Well, then your definition of performance will be different to mine. Obviously, I don't need 100. Like, I'm fine with, like, a game like this, 120 would be fine, but it's the higher resolution that's going to kill me. Like, I had to... Because they literally had a hotfix because texture streaming was, really bad. So if you had it on the higher texture streaming options...
I had a question. Do we know if fists are still a thing?
Fists? I don't even know
Right.
if there's still, like, PvP like there was in Half Dead 2.
Because we never did the PvP, and
We
I
did
always thought that would be interesting. I've never played the PvP.
I played it with Katie once, but then I think Kate was like, I don't like this. Let's not play this again.
Yeah. No, I would imagine you would want a lot of players
Yeah,
for
I
it.
think it's like
And
you're either
quite a
farming
small
someone
map.
1v1, or you're either like, I think it would be fun if you had like tons of people, like crab game
Yeah.
style
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah,
Who knows? If they're updating it, maybe.
Games.
I mean, if you're looking for like a big game to play with lots of friends, just play crab game. But if you're
Yeah.
looking for something else, then maybe try this. That's what I'll say about this.
Okay. Oh, right. And that was a. So okay, so like you throw a shoe into a room.
Yep.
And like and that's a trap from like it closes, it locks the all the doors, I presume.
Yeah,
And then
that's a death room.
Yeah.
Okay.
The platform will start slowly lowering, and then a random
But-
hazard will kill you.
It activates as soon as you throw the shoe in every time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is what we were
Okay.
talking before about having. It would be a good to have like delayed death rooms
Yes,
where
because
you
that
could
would
be
be
halfway
really-
Okay,
through
right, that's what
one,
you meant.
I was saying, like, imagine if you threw a shoe in the room, and then
and it looked
Yeah.
fine.
and it looked fine, but then it waited a random amount of time, and then the death room activated.
But like yeah, like the random amount of time could like allow one person to like run all the way through, then like trap the next
Yeah.
person or something.
Yeah.
Well, in this
Okay,
now,
okay.
before in the last game, death rooms that was it. You went in one
Mm.
and you were dead. In this one, you have the opportunity to escape if you're quick enough and armed with both shoes still.
Yeah. Or your teammate can save you as well, if they're close enough. But I don't have much else to say. Do you, Dave?
No, there's no. I was struggling the things to think about. Yeah, I would recommend it. That's what I could
It's
say.
like
Yeah.
a short little fun experience.
Yeah, no, it's a
Play
great
multiple
game.
times. They're like
Just
a pie game in a way.
It's
yeah,
look, it's not for everybody, and that is okay.